Hey guys, it's your girl Boonie, and you're listening to episode 118 of the Boonie Breakdown Podcast, your source for all things responsible and ratchet. Welcome to this week's episode. My guest, there is a guest this week, but my guest is Brian Oliver, also known as Beyond Bmore. So yes, a local hometown guy. We have an amazing conversation about travel and seeing new places and how Brian developed his thirst for traveling, some of the tips that he's picked up along the way. And he does a lot of solo traveling, which, I've never done. So we have a good conversation about domestic travel, international travel, hotels, all that fun stuff. So stick around for that conversation. All right, guys. You guys know I didn't get a chance to talk about it last episode, but we had the last live show of the year down in Atlanta on November 9th. It was amazing, barring issues with the venue, which I'm not even going to give them no type of props, okay? But if you ever want to rent that venue, you're interested in that venue, hit your girl up because I'll let you know some tips, all right? But I just want to thank all of the Ratcheteers, the new Ratcheteers, people who didn't even know what they were walking into, who came off the street and just sat in on the show, brought a ticket. We had an amazing show. I think Atlanta is up there. It was one of my favorite shows. The dialogue was amazing. I want to shout out my guests. You guys know our problematic fave, Brian, and also Arkita of It's Arkita and the Awkward Girl Pod Ventures. It really, really was a dope conversation. I love the intimacy of the audience. And it just really flowed. It was perfect. I want to thank our sponsors who sponsored the show in Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. So shout out to True Magic Wand. I love the magic wands. Shout out to One Condoms who sponsored some really dope goodie bags for you guys. Shout out to Robbie's Happy Place for doing Philadelphia and Baltimore, and shout out to Aunt Boozy's Treats who hooked up the bags with the Hennessy popcorn. Yum, yum, yum. The Hennessy cinnamon rolls was hitting too. But thank you to our kind sponsors. It's a few people who I never thought I would be doing shows in other cities. So, I just have to shout out some people who helped me pull this off. My wonderful attorney, Crystal I. Myers Esquire, my brother, DJ Cheech, who did some of the audio, sound, videos, pictures for the shows this year. My mom, who handles the merch sale. Shout out to my BFF in law, Ashley, for handling the door. Shout out to my soror Nika, who did the door in Atlanta. Shout out to my incredible friend Fee for just everything. She's the sweetest person I know. Shout out again to Brian because he did both Philadelphia and Atlanta. Shout out to Sheikah and Chrissy because they did it Bourbon and Boy Shorts. Erica, who did the Philly show, Arkita, who did the Atlanta show, and for the hundreds of people who brought tickets to either Baltimore, Atlanta, Philly. Those of you who brought tickets and didn't even show up, I don't know why. You guys missed a good ass time. But yes, that is it. I did it. I wanted to do it. I'm excited to do it again in 2020. All right. So I have a short list. I'm just going to say right now, some of my short list cities are Chicago, New York, DC, maybe Houston, Dallas. I'm going to try to do 4, maybe 5. We'll see. But definitely we'll do another 3 cities next year. Hopefully 4. We'll see how we can grow. And hopefully you can catch us again. I know people in Philly are asking to come back there. So we'll see. But it was really dope. Again, I thank you guys. I never, ever thought that I would be taking this on the road and doing it in other cities outside of Baltimore. So I love you all. All right, let's get into housekeeping. Season 6 of the Boonie Breakdown Podcast. There are 4 episodes left after this. That's right. Only 4. All right. So mark your calendars. All right. December 16th is the last episode for this season. The podcast will be back for season 7 on February 10th. Okay. February 10th, 2020 is when we will come back for season 7 of the Boonie Breakdown Podcast. Last week's episode feedback, episode 117 with our guests Jeremy and Kyle of Bourbon and Boy Shorts. you guys immediately picked up on the energy that I was talking about. I was very curious to hear the feedback and how you guys received this episode, because I know I was struggling with the episode. I really, really was. And I think it was in particular, I asked, like I said, I asked in my, Talk to Boonie Tuesday on Instagram stories. I asked which one annoyed me the most. Overwhelmingly, 83% of you guys said Jeremy was annoying you the most, and you guys were correct. One person commented, Boonie, let me know when y'all fuck. He's clearly flirting with you. He clearly likes you. Another person said, oh my God, I thought I was listening to kindergartners flirt. It was kind of like when the boy likes you and he keeps hitting you. Just tell him to man up and use those words. So again, you guys picked up on everything that I wanted you to. I love you guys for doing that. And be sure to, if you still haven't, check out the episode that I did on their podcast. They really, really are dope, nice guys. So shout out. Thanks again to Jeremy and Kyle. All right, Boonie Breakdown merch. All the cool merch. We have some sweatshirts over there. You can actually get my mouth on a shirt, because a lot of people always talk about my mouth. They ask about my mouth. So what that mouth do, you can do that. Be sure to use the code HOE, HEAUX, HOE, to save 15% on all orders over $15. Okay. You know, I wore my lip shirt. Yes, I wore a shirt myself with my own lips on my shirt. And I got a lot of compliments. It's selling really well. You guys you enjoy this one. So again, just go on over, use the code. It's in the show notes if you would like to save on your order. It's wonderful for Christmas gifts. The holidays are coming up, Hanukkah gifts, Kwanzaa gifts, etc. So again, head on over to theboonieBreakdown.com/shop to grab your things. And if this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. I hope you stick around and join the Ratcheteer tribe. That is what we call ourselves. And if you are not following us on social, please be sure to do so at the Boonie Breakdown, both on Facebook and Instagram. Just at Boonie Breakdown on Twitter, okay? And when sharing this episode, please use the hashtags the Boonie Breakdown, the hashtag PODIN, PODIN. Tag us, put us in your Insta stories, share it from Spotify, share it from SoundCloud, tweet it, send a smoke signal, whatever you need to do to get the word out. I greatly appreciate it, and I will respond to all those that I can. So that is it for me, guys. So let's get ready to break it down. All right, guys, it's your girl Boonie, and I'm excited for this episode. You know, this season, like I said, we've been doing a lot of ratchet episodes. Now we're gonna do a little responsible episode, and I would like to welcome Brian of Beyond Bmore to the podcast.
What's going on?
Nothing. How are you?
I'm pretty good. What about you?
I'm wonderful. You know, I'm excited because you're from West Baltimore too.
Yeah, born and raised.
Where in West Baltimore?
Like Howard Park. I grew up in the area, and then I live in Ashburton now, so not that far.
Not that far. Okay. Yeah. I grew up at North and Pulaski.
Okay.
Yeah. So West Baltimore here. It's so funny because if you're not from Baltimore, it's kind of like, I always use the analogy, like people in New York, they're like, I'm from the Bronx, I'm from Brooklyn. Baltimore, you're either from East Baltimore or West Baltimore.
East or West, and that's it.
And for me, it's West Baltimore.
Yeah. And everybody's like, whoever grew up on one side is like, oh, I'm good. Like with the other side.
It is really, as you can attest, like Brian has done way more traveling than I have, and I've done a lot, but he's done a lot. And I will do a 13-hour flight, no problem. But I do not like going to East Baltimore.
That's like the whole city. Yep, East or West. Like, nah, I'm good. I ain't going over there. When people go to buy houses, they like, don't show me nothing over there. Like, it's like, nope. Wherever you grew up,
I didn't buy a house far from where I grew up either. So yeah, it's very true. You stick to your side. So how did you develop, like, how did you find your passion for traveling?
I always say it started when I was a kid. I used to go everywhere with my granddad, like road trips, and then I started traveling with my dad and my family on like the train. And
Uh-huh.
I remember we took a flight to Cleveland once, and I was just fascinated by planes and trains ever since then. The older I got, I continued to travel, but it was basically, yeah, road trips with family going to different places along the East Coast. And think I got to college when I really started to travel to more states further away from the East Coast by plane. And once I graduated from college, we just kept going. And me and a lot of my friends started to travel a lot to different cities in the US. And back then, we didn't know much about flight deals. We just knew the city we wanted to go to. So we'd be like, oh, let's go to Chicago. Let's go to LA, let's go to Dallas or something. And we did that. And once we started traveling internationally, that was like a wrap. And then
Yeah.
we finally started to catch good flight deals, and I don't know, it just became like something that I definitely fell deeper in love with, and I'm not going to necessarily stop it at any point soon, even though I may slow down a little bit.
I just hit a slow period myself. Like, I think 2015, 2016. I did a lot. Like in one year, I think I did like a Mediterranean cruise. I went to a couple countries in Africa. I went to Colombia. I went like,
Just getting it in, right?
yeah, I did. And I actually got sat down because right after I came back from my Mediterranean cruise, literally I wasn't back in the States for 24 hours. I was in the emergency room. My appendix had ruptured.
Oh wow.
So we assume it probably ruptured sometime on that trip.
Right. And you just didn't realize it.
I didn't realize it. Yeah. So that sat me down because it ended up being a more invasive surgery. So it like wiped out my leave.
Oh wow, yeah. That's
So
no
I kind
good.
of been doing like little small trips here and there, but I have been spanking my leave and I'm ready to go
Time to
again.
go. Time to go.
I'm ready to go. So how many domestic travel, how many states have you been to? Because like I know I have a goal that I do eventually want to hit all 50 states.
I never really keep a count of the states,
You
but
don't?
no, and that's the funny part. The only reason I ever started to count the countries was because it was a plugin on my blog that would say how many countries I visited. So I will put that on there. But I think I've been to a little bit over 20 states, and that's it.
Okay. How many countries
But
have you
it's
been to?
right now it's about 55.
Wow.
And I would love to visit all the states, but anybody who travels frequently knows that all the deals are cheaper to go out of the country than it
It
is
goes
to go from
so it's
state to state sometimes.
so much cheaper to catch a flight deal to go international.
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
literally think I paid less for my flight to one of my flight to Barcelona than I am paying for my flight to go to Atlanta this weekend.
right, yeah, it's crazy. And so you want us to, keep the money home or travel domestically, but I mean, if you can get a flight to go out of the country for two times as cheap, why wouldn't you do it?
So out of these 55 countries, what are your top 3 destinations you've been internationally?
I always say the first place has to be Ghana. I just fell in love with it the first time I went, and I've been back again after that, and I'm about to go back again for New Year's actually. So that's
Oh, dope.
definitely
Are you
number
going to
one.
Afrochella?
I'm not going to be there in times, but I'm still
Oh,
trying
okay.
to make it happen because
Gotcha.
everybody's going to be there. It looks like it's going to be lit. I want to get there for that. So if I can, I'm going to make that happen. Number two, uh, I love London. I don't know what it is with the UK. I actually love it. A lot of people don't like it, but
I liked London myself as well.
yeah, I love it. I can go back anytime. It's a little expensive, but
It is pricey,
it's
that's the pound, but
the
but
dollar
I
is
do
weak when you get there.
it's so weak. But I do feel like London is like a easy spot for people to do, like as maybe like if you haven't been to a lot of places internationally, because there is no language barrier, one,
Right.
which is very helpful sometimes. And two, like I feel like it has a familiar feel, but it is a different culture, if that makes any sense.
it was definitely a different culture, and
Yeah,
you can sit
but it
around and
still
people
felt
watch
familiar.
all day. I can sit around people watch all day, no matter where I am. But even like there, it's just funny, and I think we laugh at their accent, they laugh at ours. So it's like going back and forth the way we all pronounce words, what we leave out and what they leave out. So
Yeah.
that's always a good time. And for a third place, I actually really like Japan as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So
that
I
would be the
know
top three.
I have not made it to Asia yet. I'm gonna get there. What I know people always have the trepidation about traveling and food. So like that's one thing I am will admit I am nervous about like when I start to go to like Japan and when I venture into China and Thailand, not Thailand so much, but like the cuisine, like how is the food there?
So I actually like most Asian foods, so that's not a problem for me.
Okay.
I was actually excited, and then it's so cheap. The street food in Asia, the good street food that you would
Oh,
trust to
street
eat is, yeah,
food.
it's like
Yeah.
it's cheap, it's affordable. I mean, you get a full meal for less than $5 sometimes. But I always tell people as well who are hesitant to travel because of the food. I think you can get anything you want anywhere in the world that you're used to at home. It's just funny to be in foreign countries and see McDonald's and Burger King and Subway and all the
It
Pizza
is
Hut. Pizza Hut is
true.
definitely a
Pizza
lot
Hut
of
is
places.
popping in places. I was shocked to see Pizza Hut in Dubai.
Right.
And that and Tony Roma's was the one in Dubai that I was like, "What?"
Didn't they have like I think they got like an IHOP there as well or something. I was like,
Yeah, it
oh
was
yeah,
very
it was
we
funny.
actually I think in Dubai, I think we had brunch in the Cheesecake Factory one day.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yep.
Yeah, I think Dubai, I think was one of those places for me. Now, we spoke about flight deals. I got that insane Christmas flight deal that year that
Yeah,
everybody
everybody
went to
was
Dubai.
jumping on that. Yeah, and everybody was over there like
Yeah,
all
and
like the whole next year.
the whole year everybody was there, and I was one of those people
Uh,
because Ashley from Will Drink for Travel, we joke, we have each other's travel proxy. We give so if it's like an insane deal like that, it's just like I'm gonna book it for you,
I got your info.
and we'll
Just send me
figure
the
out
money.
later. So I remember Christmas morning, it's like 6 in the morning, and she's texting me like, "It is a travel emergency." And I'm like, $187. It's not even a question. Just pick dates and we'll figure
Right,
it
just
out.
pick the
So
dates and let's go. I think I saw people saying like, they were trying to get in contact with people and they couldn't. They're like, "Oh, I just got in the car, went over to their house, and was knocking on the door, like, yo, you need to wake up, like, you need to catch
yeah.
this deal."
And Ashley totally would have been one of those people, but I was in Atlanta. So she was just blowing up my phone. And I was like,
Blowing up the
what is
phone.
happening? But yeah, so I totally hopped in. And we were able to get in earlier in the year. So we were like there in like April. So
Oh yeah, I went in May and it was like scorching, so I can't
it
even
was
imagine
hot. It
after
was
that.
hot
Yeah,
though. Yeah, I couldn't imagine later either. But I just felt like Dubai was just one of the weirdest places I'd ever went. And not in the sense that it was like the culture. It was just like it just felt everything just felt so fake. If that
but
like
that's how I actually felt about it. And I don't know. I guess your opinion differs from a lot of people, just like mine. But I always say like that was a place that I went, and I didn't fall in love with it like
me
I
either.
expected. I felt like it was Sim City on steroids or something.
Yeah, like it just felt like a playground. It was just a very like I liked Abu Dhabi more
Yeah, same
cuz
here.
it felt a little bit more authentic.
Yep.
But Dubai, I felt like it's no place I would rush back to. If I had a layover there to go somewhere else, sure, but I'm not in a rush. And I hate to like when people always talk about it, I'm just like, well, I think you should go other places. Go
Right. I
other
mean,
places
that's how
first.
I am. I'm like, I'll go back if another deal pops up that's insane, but otherwise, I'm not like I gotta get back to Dubai. Last year I actually had like a 2 day stopover in Abu Dhabi, and I was like, I'm good on Dubai. I'm gonna just stay here and
Yeah, I really like
hung
Abu
out there.
Dhabi.
Yeah.
Um, as you've been traveling the world, you said 55 countries and traveling as a black man, have you had any experiences that just really stood out to you or any exchanges in other countries like being black?
I haven't had any negative experience yet,
Oh, that's
unless I
dope.
happen to overlook it. But I really haven't. It's always interesting. I mean, of course, when you go to the average, well, the majority of African countries, they look like us, but they can definitely tell that we're
We are
American,
not. Yes.
right? And like walking down the street, they're like calling you out and calling you over, American boy, like come here, Obama, Obama, like all these names they have for us. So I like how they're always kind of intrigued and they want to know your story. They want to know about your life. I think a lot of them love the American culture, but some of them don't like certain things like the TV shows or things like that because they say they put us in a negative light. Um, but going to a lot of the European countries and yeah, most of those European countries and even the Asian countries, some people are like fascinated to see a black man, and they'll stop when they see you walking and pay attention to pay attention to you. They're eager to start up a conversation, and a lot of people, I find that they're a little hesitant to ask, but then they eventually say like, what's up with the racism in America? Or, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, we got to have this conversation. But, a lot of people are like, oh, that's a shame and things like that. And even though, there's definitely racism all over the world, I guess I'm just fortunate not to have experienced it yet.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I don't think it's funny when you mention that. I feel like in Paris, not so much in southern France, but in Paris, I felt like it was something, but I could not tell if it was because we were black or if we were American. Like I feel like the French were so snooty sometimes that it was more so we were American than black. But the only time I had an experience where it was like racist was actually in South Africa in Cape Town.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, in Cape Town. And I think I was more so offended because the woman was a bum and like they had apartheid and stuff, but she was pretty much like, "Oh, y'all black Americans, like I see why they shooting y'all in the streets." We were
Oh,
like,
wow.
"What?" And we're like in the Beverly Hills of Cape Town,
Cape
and
Town,
I'm
right.
like, we were in like Camps Bay at the grocery store. It was just so, it was like such a like, what the fuck? But
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of Black Americans who have gone to South Africa, particularly Cape Town, and they're like, "I'm good. I don't want to go back." Like, they're like, "I don't want to go back there," because of
yeah,
the
I'm like,
racism that they experienced.
yeah, I'm like, it was such a small thing. Like I still enjoy Cape Town a lot. But that was the first time I can remember like traveling being like, like she said, "What?" She said, "What?"
You
So
just waiting
yeah,
at the
but
Baltimore come out like
no,
what?
it was like, and it's a car full of like three of us are from Baltimore, like, bitch. But I'll never forget it. Like she kept saying it, and then she was like, we were in and the funny thing was, I think that made her even angrier was like this white girl was driving the car.
Oh yeah,
But she was like my friend's coworker, and then
it's
it's like
like the
all these
roles
black girls
reversed.
get in the car. So yeah, that was funny. And the people were looking on the street like, "Oh my god."
Always a
um
story.
that's the one thing I do like about traveling. Like, it's so many times people can name a city or a place, and I'm like, oh, I remember this time I was there, and blah blah blah. So, like I
Yeah, you
said,
can
it's
start a conversation and like end up talking all day about it.
all day, all day. I think I'm getting to Ghana. Ghana is on my list. I really want to go there.
Yeah, you
Everyone keeps
got to
talking
make that
about it.
happen.
I wish I had done more forward thinking to do it this year in the year of the return.
Right,
But I'm
right.
definitely going to get there.
Yeah, I think now that everybody's been going and they ran that campaign so well, no, even though the year of return is going to be over, everybody still wants to go back and get the experience. So it's not going to die down anytime soon, in my opinion.
So, did you go into any of the slave castles?
Yeah, I went to the two in um, Cape Coast. Yeah, I went to the two in
Okay.
Cape Coast, the Elmina Castle and Cape Coast Castle, and that was an experience that it was just hard to put in words. I think you went through all types of emotions while you were there, and even afterwards, I remember the guide who drove me from Accra. He was saying, you should make this a day trip when we go there because it's like a 3 hour drive. So if you drove there and
Oh,
did the
wow.
two castles, you can still come back to Accra like that evening and be good to go. But he kind of like pre warned me. He's like, once you finish these two tours, you're not gonna want to do anything. He was like, so when we get done, I'm gonna drop you off at the hotel and let you decompress and chill out for a while. He's like, and then call me when you're ready to go, get some food or go back out. And he wasn't lying. I mean, it was like, you leave out, you angry, you sad. It's like you motivated. It was like everything. You didn't know what to feel.
Know what to feel, yeah.
Right.
I just keep everybody I know who's been there just talks about how moving it is.
Right.
Um, that yeah, that is definitely on the top of my list of things to do when I finally get there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm I don't even think I could prepare myself for
No,
what
you
I'm
can't.
gonna feel.
And I've gone to like a few other like doors of no return in other African countries or like the slave routes, and it's the same feeling. Like you just go through there, or you visit the site, and you're just like, man, I can't even believe this. Like,
Ugh,
yeah, it's a lot.
I already noted. Do nothing. Do
After,
nothing else the
like,
day of that
you
tour.
might want to go to the bar after that. Like, I mean, it's nothing. It's gonna be like I gotta chill.
I need to drink. So what has been like the no. Before we get there, you just did your heritage trip too.
Right.
So if you
Partly,
are
somewhat.
yeah, like so like if you aren't familiar with that, it's like a lot of people have been doing like the DNA testing and then traveling to those locations in which come back from their testing. So
Yeah.
I
So
I definitely want to do that too.
right. I did that over the course of like 4 weeks. I went back to Africa, and I only went to some of the countries. The ones with the highest percentages, I haven't gotten a chance to visit yet, like Cameroon
Okay.
and Mali. Yeah, they have like really high percentages. But I just went to the Ivory Coast and back to Ghana, of course, and then Togo and Benin, and it was cool. I mean, it was like it's definitely something to experience. Of course, most of us are. If you do if you trace it through Ancestry DNA or some of the other websites, it's all going to be some country or countries from West Africa. But
Mhm.
because of history, we're all mixed up. So it's like you're never going to get one country for the most part because and then it's not going to be all of Africa. So people got to realize that as well because of the way things went down. It's going to be some European, like everything is going
Yep.
to show up, and you're going to be like, oh, like well, it makes sense because I mean that was one of the things that stood out as well in the slave castles. Like they were pointing out where like the slave owners stayed and like the masters, and they'd say, yeah, from this dungeon right here, this is where they call the women up, and this is where they rape them and things like
Wow.
that, and you're like, wow. And so when they leave Africa, they're pregnant with a mixed kid, and
Mm.
that's where all that started
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah,
Ugh.
so yeah, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
it is it's so heavy. But yeah, I've been seeing that trend of like the heritage traveling, and I do think it's cool. I did 23andMe for mine, and I
Okay.
laugh because I did it with a coworker at the time who was Nigerian. And so I'm like, he did it too. And his came back. It was like 99.4% West African.
Like he can go right to his parents and get the full
Yeah, I
rundown,
was
right?
like, I was like, "Did you think it was gonna be?" He was like, "It was a possibility." But yeah, I
Right.
remember being startled a bit because the how high the European percentage was for me when I did that. And I think I talked
Yeah.
about that. Oh, that was probably like season 1 of this podcast. Like it might have been like episode like 11 or something I did this. But like I was just like, "What?" 24%.
Yeah,
Like, that's high.
it is high, but it's like you would
But
have never
yeah, when
thought
you
of it.
know the
Yeah.
yeah, when you do the history, it makes sense. But it was like, what? What?
And then like with
Um,
ancestry.com, when you go in there, based on the DNA, they can show you like your family members who've taken the test as well. And some of these people that I look at, I'm like, wait, this is not a black person, or they're not all the way
yes.
black. And I'm like, yeah, so we share DNA somewhere.
So yeah, on 23andMe they do the same thing, and they'll be like, based off of whatever percentage shared, we suspect this is your second cousin. So I was like, for someone who has no first cousins, I'm like, a second cousin.
A
I'm like,
second.
that's close, right?
Right.
So it's like we share like a great great grandparent or something. And I click on this
Somewhere.
lady's thing, and she's a white woman. Like, she's white. So she's like the inverse of me, where she's like 69% white, but like 25% black. And I was
Black,
like,
yeah.
I was like, so
Yeah.
somebody was lying up in that tree somewhere.
So right, exactly.
Somebody was definitely passing somewhere over there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was just like, and then we were able to determine it's like on my dad's side, and we think we tracked the connecting relative, which is like my great great grandfather.
See, I didn't do
So
any tracking or tracing afterwards, which I always said I wanted to do, especially because I
I
mean we know family, but we never really know
yeah, you
like
don't.
everything.
And that was the thing. Like, I think because it was the same thing, it was so startling. Like, she's like, "Who's this black girl?" And I'm like, "Who this white lady?" And so
Right.
when she was asking the names, like, or Boone, it was like, she was like, oh, okay, Boone. And then that's when she was like, okay, what about here? And then I had to go ask my dad, like, and so we think this person they thought was white was not.
Yeah.
So yeah. But she was very startled.
Yeah, I bet.
So what's been the biggest lesson you've learned as you've been in becoming a more seasoned traveler?
Probably that I need to be a lot more patient. Because
Mm,
I really don't have patience, and I never have. But I've had a few disasters on trips, and I think I always talk about how growing up on the East Coast is different to me than someone who grows up on the West Coast because of like the pace of life and the way we go about things, and especially in a city like Baltimore, we we move fast, and it's like every man is trying to get ahead of the next man, or you think you're always in like this race or this fight because you got to prove yourself or be like successful because the odds are already stacked against you from day one.
yeah.
So when I go to the West Coast of the U.S., everybody's waking up, they're chill, everybody's happy, the weather's better, things like that. And I was like, well, we're 3 hours ahead of them. So when they wake up, if it's an emergency, it's already been solved, kind of. Like if it was something that needed to get done right away. So somebody on the East Coast started to handle it or even completely handle it. But, traveling, being in airports when flights get delayed or, they get canceled, or you get caught up in a storm somewhere and you end up having to change a flight, or you got all these plans and they're like nothing goes the way you planned it to go. You got to
Yeah.
learn patience and I mean language barriers, like everything. So it's still like I'm still a work in progress, so to speak, because I don't think you can ever fully go away from not having a lot of patience. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Patience
just
comes in
something you gotta
handy.
have.
It
And
comes in
like
handy.
here, if somebody makes you mad, everybody's quick to snap or flip on them and get smart. But I mean, you can't do that at airports or on a plane because next thing you know, you off. They throw you off, or you're gonna be in jail, locked up abroad somewhere, and you're like, I ain't even say nothing, But they're like,
Yeah.
nah, like we don't play that over here.
Yeah. No, that's where I've definitely too have had some travel delays, disasters, cancellations,
Right?
weather extending your trip.
Yeah, like everything.
So yeah, and I know that happened to us like we were younger and broke, and we were just not prepared when that happened. And it was like, what?
Right.
We're gonna be here 7 more days. What? We've already been
Shoot.
here 12 days.
You ready to go? You like, yo, I want to go home. I remember when I got stuck in Bali because the flight got canceled going back to Singapore so that I could get home. And I think when I called the airline, they were like, "Yeah, we don't have any openings on flights for like the next week and a half." So I was like, "So you telling me I'm just gonna be stuck in Asia, like for a week and a half just because there's no more seats available?" So I just like forfeited that flight, and I had to buy the way back home on a different airline because I was like, I'm not gonna. That's just not gonna happen. I'm not
Yeah,
staying here. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. You always got to be ready and prepared and go with the flow. It's always
yeah,
my thing. So as people are starting to plan for their 2020 travel, um, I just kind of wanted to do some tips. I know you play the points game because I've seen some
right.
of your baller flights you posted on Instagram. So, what is like a beginner tip for people who are like, I heard about people using points. Like, what's one tip you would tell people?
I would tell everybody to research for travel rewards, credit cards, and some banks even will offer some type of reward debit card. So if you don't want to go out and get a credit card, you might not be able to, you might not be comfortable with it. Just double check to make sure that they aren't offering some type of card that gets you back rewards because I pretty much use like a different amount of credit cards to accumulate points because you get bonuses from spending, from using your card at restaurants or, using it on travel. The points add up quickly. Um, and I don't, you know, typically pay for any flight out of the country if I don't have to. Because points are like, allowing me to do that now. So when you mention like those baller flights, it's kind of like if I would have paid for that ticket out of pocket, it might have been, $4,000 or something for that one flight. But because of the points that I had, I was able to, make it work out and not have to come out of my pocket for anything besides the taxes, which is, very, very cheap the majority of the time. So if you can get the points to add up, um, or even just start earning points, if you have like accounts with the airlines, just for being like a frequent flyer or just creating a profile with them, you can tie it to your card that you use when you go out and make everyday purchases.
Ah,
Like they email me every day and they'll be like, hey, use our shopping portal online right now, and if you buy any product from Apple, each dollar is worth 10 miles, with the airline. So you're like, all
oh
right,
wow.
so I got to go buy this new MacBook. It's about to cost me $2,000, and then you multiply
Yep.
by 10, and you're like, oh, I got 20,000 miles, with the airline, and then that 20,000 miles might get you a trip out of the country, or somewhere you want to go without
Somewhere,
even having to
yeah.
come out of pocket more. I mean, it works with hotels, stores. Like I say, it'll be like Macy's or something saying, we'll give you 2 points for every dollar you spend. So it all adds up. So I encourage most people that are able to, well, everybody actually that are able to do it, to get a card, let those points add up, just pay it off, use it like you would use your debit card. So if you go out and you have a weekend when you go out every day, then Monday, just go ahead and pay it. Uh,
See,
yeah,
use the points and pay it.
right,
Don't rack up debt. Um, you travel solo a lot.
right,
No, yeah, you do.
right.
Do you enjoy solo travel?
I do. It's funny. It always comes across to sound a little selfish, but on an interview I recently did, like a video interview, I was saying, like, if you wake up in the morning, you ain't got to worry about anybody saying like, "Oh, it's 9:30. We supposed to be out by 10 because we got this tour coming up." But you might have went out the night before and had a little bit too much to drink or too much fun, and you like, "Yo, cancel them plans for the day because I ain't gonna make it," or I want to go out later. But what I also learned is, especially through traveling, period, it forces me to talk to people who I wouldn't normally say anything to because you're like alone. So if I go out to like
Mm,
a bar or something, and I'm by myself, then normally if I were with my friends and I would be sitting there not saying anything to strangers, like it forces me, to be the guy to ask them that question of like, oh, you're from here, or what is there to do tonight? What do you suggest I do tonight? And one of the benefits of solo travel that I always say, if you go out with a group of your friends, then chances are you're only going to talk to each other the whole time. So
Yeah.
you're not going to talk to the other people that are around you just because, I mean, you're good, you got your friends. But I can go so many places in the world now and know somebody. So, you're saving money on food and lodging and all of that just because of me traveling by myself and, starting
Meeting
that
people.
conversation
Yeah,
and getting to know, these people that I met.
that's cool. I've never done a solo pleasure trip. Like I've done solo business, but just
Yeah, you
me
got to do
going
it at
away on
least once.
vacation.
You
I'm
got to
gonna
do it
do
at
it.
least once. Yeah, you definitely got to do it at least once.
I
You
do.
might fall in love with it though, like seriously.
So we talked about this earlier. How do you pick locations? Are you strictly now like, oh, wherever the flight deals are, or do you have a list and like, okay, I'm just gonna chomp away at this list? But how do you pick
So
your next destination?
yeah, so normally, like I mean, like a few years ago, not even that long ago, it may be just that deal that pops up, and you're like, oh man, like it's $200 to go to, this country in South America or this place in Europe, but and then those deals still pop up daily. If there's a deal that comes up that is like insane and I know I'll never see it again, then I'll go ahead and say like I gotta go here, I'm gonna go ahead and buy this. But otherwise, I am at that point right now where I've completely fallen in love and become intrigued with like the whole continent of Africa. And I know
Mhm.
some of the places aren't 100% safe to visit at the moment, but I am at that point where I want to go and see as much of Africa as I can. So even for like 2020, it's funny because most people are like, where you going next year? Because normally, I mean, it's November. I will have like, a bunch of trips planned for the next year already and I already know where I'm going to go. But next year, I only have like one trip planned so far. And it's pretty much just because I'm sitting back waiting on those deals to the countries in Africa to pop up or to figure out
Gotcha.
where exactly I want to go and make those points and miles spread so I can do that. So that's what I said. That's what I meant when I said earlier, like kind of slowing down a little bit because it's like those like 4 or 5 day trips to somewhere in Europe. Uh, they were all good, but now like when I go to a country in Africa, I want to go to another one or just spend as much time as I can in that
Yeah.
particular country. So it's the flight takes long enough to get to a lot of those places, and then once you get
Mhm.
there, you don't want to have like a quick short trip because it's not like a lot of the other countries where there's like great public transportation, or
Yeah, no, for
trains and all of
sure.
that. So you need time and you got to spread it out. And then once you get there, like most of the time, the love is so real. You're like, yo, I'm good. I'm going back home.
Yeah, I definitely think like I can't wait for the day because I've only been to Africa once. I'm gonna can't wait to get back. But it's like I can't wait for the day where the infrastructure within Africa is almost the same as Europe, where you
Right.
can, hop between countries for like 20 euro.
20. Yeah. I was.
I mean it's amazing, right?
Yeah, I was talking to someone about that earlier because when I go back in December to Ghana, I don't want to stay there the whole time based upon the days that I have. And I was looking at other countries to go visit while I'm there, and it's a flight that's like an hour and a half. You can jump out of the country to the next country that you want to visit, and it's like $500 or six
Yeah, it's
hundred dollars.
so
And
expensive.
I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't even make no make like a multi country trip because
Yeah,
it's like
I,
I don't
I
want to spend the money to do it. Yeah.
I that's the part, like, I can't wait for that day because when I went the first time, so we went to South Africa, we flew up to Zambia, um, we flew back into Johannesburg and then flew back to Cape Town, and, yeah, I know, like, people think, like, Africa is so expensive, but there are definitely flight deals to Africa, so our flight from the States to get to South Africa was only about 600 something dollars, right? And
Right. Yeah.
so, we did rack up some money going back and forth and going to Botswana and, like, all that stuff, but
Right.
just to get to the continent, that 16-hour flight, like you said, You do want to country hop,
Right.
but these
But then you're
flights
like, I can't
enter.
even afford to do it.
You can't like.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do, it might be like one other country because it's so expensive. So I know, but you can get deals. I see deals all the time to Kenya, where I can't wait to get there. I
Yeah,
see,
Kenya's been popping up a lot lately.
yeah. So, and I'm like, okay, if I go to Kenya, then I want to go to Tanzania and try to hop in Seychelles.
Right.
So Zanzibar or something. Like I got to make all this work, but
Yeah.
that's where you spend the money in Africa. Is if you're trying to get bang for your buck and move
Yep.
around. That's where
But
you're gonna rack
that's
it
why
up.
you notice a lot of people who are able to do it, they'll go to Africa, but they'll say like, oh, I'm over here for a month or two because they know it's gonna, they need the time, and if they're gonna spend
Yeah.
$600 to go to a country that's not that far, then they don't want it to just be a weekend trip. They're like, I'm gonna get my money's worth
Yeah,
and
and that's the
stay
thing
here
too.
for a
I
while.
think the next time I go, I want to go for a while. Like I think the last time, I think we did almost 2 weeks, and that still wasn't enough time.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I'm like, I definitely would love to go back for 3-4 weeks the next time
Right.
I go, and really get to spend the time there and not feel rushed. And but yeah, you can. So so I don't want people to be discouraged. Like you definitely can get to the continent cheap. Um, and if you just want to go to Kenya and come back home, that's cool too.
Yeah, for real. Yeah,
But
like
yeah,
do what
don't feel
you. Yeah.
compelled. But I just
Right.
know like for a 16-hour flight, and because it is bomb as fuck, like I really had a ball in Cape Town. We had a ball in
Yeah,
Zambia.
I loved Cape Town. Yeah, like I still got to get to
Yeah.
Zambia, and you say you did Botswana as well.
So yeah, what we did was the way we did our itinerary, we flew into Johannesburg, we stayed there, then we flew right into Livingston, Zambia and did Victoria Falls.
Okay,
And
yeah,
from where we are, we actually like kind of walked, took a cab to Zimbabwe, just to see the falls from that side. So we were like,
right,
oh, we're in Zimbabwe, but we didn't do anything else but see the falls. And then
right.
we did a tour because Botswana, where we were, Botswana was like an hour away. So they picked us up. Then we drove into Botswana and we did safari there.
Okay,
And
yeah,
yeah, so we were able to go to Botswana too. So it worked. Then came back to Zambia.
yeah. So it was, yeah. I mean, but
Yes,
that's what I'm saying. It takes time, but I mean, it's like it's worth it. I tell people
it
most of
totally
these trips, you
is.
get back and people are like, how was your trip? And that's one of the questions that I actually hate to be asked because not hate to be asked, but I'm kind of like, all right, we won't even have enough time for me to sit here and tell you like how
Yeah,
the
you
trip was. So
don't.
you're like, oh, it was good, it was great, but you're like, I can't even put it into words, and if I tried to, we'd be sitting here talking all day.
It really is. And I think too, like, I also love destinations where I didn't know what to expect and it blew my mind. Like, and I
Right.
think one of those for me, well, really two, but one a few years ago when I went to Iceland for the first time.
Oh yeah.
Never in my life did I think I would be going to Iceland, first of all.
And
And
then
then
those
it was
deals
like,
started popping up.
yeah, Wow Air,
Yeah. Wow.
BWI.
Yeah.
And that was another time where Ashley's like, I got travel proxy. I booked us flights. And so we did London and Iceland because wow, we'll go to Europe too. And
Right.
so Iceland just blew me away. It was so beautiful. The food was so good. Like
Yeah,
it
that was
really was dope.
So I did go on that trip with some friends, and then we booked Iceland, and then we were like, well, we're gonna use this as a gateway to go to Europe from Iceland. And when we got back from the trip, we were like, yo, Iceland was dope, and I didn't think it was
It
gonna be.
was.
And we were like, we should have stayed there longer than we did instead of like going through really quick for like a day
Yeah.
and a half and then coming back through there for another day. We were like, we had 2.5 days there where we were like, we could have stayed there for a lot
Yeah,
longer because
easy.
driving around, you like you say, like you're amazed, like whoa, like you driving, seeing all these waterfalls and everything, and it just
It really
nobody was talking about it before then really. So you
That's
went
how I
and then
always
you're like,
laugh
oh, all
because
right,
I blame Beyonce because her and Jay-Z posted those pictures when they went. And I was like, I booked my trip before she posted these pictures. But yeah, no, Iceland is one. And then last year for my birthday, we went to Amsterdam last December. And that was another city because I feel like you start to go to these European cities, and not that they're all the same,
A lot
but
of
it's
them
just like,
are
okay,
like you feel like it's the same though. Yeah.
yeah. But it was just something about Amsterdam.
Right.
And I think also because it was a great girls trip, but it was like I just really enjoyed that city. I
I think
really did.
and everybody there was like real happy and friendly for
Yeah.
when I went.
Well, I mean, I don't know why, but everyone's very happy.
Yeah, like, everybody.
No, it was no problems. Very
Right.
chill.
Less
I said,
laws. That's what it is. Man, it's
yeah,
the
I'm like,
law.
they might be onto something. You know,
Yeah.
weed is legal, prostitution is legal.
They happy.
It's nothing to be mad about. So yeah, I think, but though in like recent, those were two destinations where I just really had like, no, like, all right, I'm going. But I was like,
Right.
oh, I really, yeah. So I always tell people like, they're like, Iceland. I'm like, go. I'm telling you, go to Iceland.
Definitely gotta go there.
All right, so we're at the point where we do the breakdown, and I'm gonna say one word, and then you can say the first thing that comes to mind. It could be a sound, it could be a phrase, it could be whatever. But the first thing. All right. Southwest Airlines.
Cheap.
Airbnb.
Legit.
Flight deals.
Lifesaver.
Flying.
Relaxing.
First class.
Boss.
American Express.
I can't even think of which word to use. I got the cards. I don't know. Dang, I can't think of a word. Credit. I don't know.
Credit. Success.
Inevitable. There we go.
And last one, Baltimore.
Home.
I said it all proper, but I would have said Baltimore.
I know, right? It's funny because when I always laugh at when I'm doing interviews and everything. I'm like, oh, you pronounce the whole word, but then it's like
I know. I always try to
be
like
in a natural conversation. It just rolls
oh,
off.
yeah. I'm like, oh, you said the T, but it's Baltimore.
Right.
All right, Brian. So if you could tell everyone where they can follow you on the internet, on social media, yeah.
Yep. On Instagram is Beyond not hashtag. The handle is at Beyond Bmore. Facebook, the page is Beyond Bmore as well. On Twitter, it's Beyond_Bmore. And on the web, my website is just beyondbmore.com.
He kept it simple. So I will link all of those in the show notes. So be sure to follow Brian. Check out all of his dope content. He will make you want to book an Emirates apartment as well. Was it the apartment or did you do the suite? Which one did you do?
The apartment, that was Etihad, but yeah, that's
Etihad. Okay.
Yeah, that's Etihad, but they're like both Middle Eastern airlines, and you know anybody who's traveling on the Middle Eastern airlines would tell you like they're like the best in the world.
Yeah, I did ETI, but I wasn't coach.
But they still look out for you. That's what we did.
Treat you. Yeah, they treat you way better than these domestic airlines. Yeah. So, but yeah, so thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, same here.
All right, guys, I want to thank Brian of Beyond Bmore for coming on the podcast. I hope you got inspired to start making your 2020 travel plans. Maybe you want to explore some point tips, all that stuff. So be sure to follow him in all of his journeys and travels. All right. And if you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to listen and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any app that you listen to your favorite podcasts on. Don't forget to leave those reviews too. You might just hear a review on the next episode. Follow us on all social media. Share the episode with those you love, those you don't love, those you fucking hate. And don't make these pretty images for nothing, okay? Have a dope ass week. Thank you for listening. And remember, the ratchet in me always honors the ratchet in you. Until next time.